What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hey Babe, Can We Talk with me, your host and bestie, Drea Renee. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is the place where the hot mess expresses the black sheeps of love, and for those who just can't seem to get it right when it comes to matters of the heart. And if you're returning, I missed you, and we're going to have a great episode. On today's episode, we have host of the Happily Never After podcast, Heather McGinley, in the house. We're going to be talking about life after divorce, her fundamentalist background, sex and sensitivity, all the things. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that like, follow, and subscribe and comment down below because I'd love to hear from you guys. And without further ado, let's get into it with Heather. Heather, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm super excited to talk with you. When I saw your Instagram, the Happily Never After podcast, it really spoke to me because I think for me, I've always thought with Disney and all the things of having this happily ever after life. And it doesn't always work out that way. So tell us a little bit about the podcast and how it got started.
Well, it all hinges on one thing, in that sometimes the end is just the beginning. You know, we all go through so many endings in life. Sometimes it's divorce or a breakup or heartbreak, even things that are really serious like death or, a diagnosis. And while they are so hard at the time, the lessons we learn coming out of it, it's also an opportunity to rewrite your life, to redesign your life, to look at the rest of, you got to keep going. What are you going to do? Fall over and die? No. So you take all these lessons from this ending and figure out what is the rest of your life going to look like. And it's really an opportunity to learn and grow. And it is something that I do laugh about, because every episode has a different guest telling their story.
Right.
And something that I've noticed, and you're actually coming on later this season, which I'm so excited about. We're going to talk about love and being in charge and empowered of your love life. And what I think is kind of funny, sometimes people are sharing these really serious endings that happen in their life, but we're laughing and we're having a good time talking about it. And it's just, it makes me think about when you're going through heartbreak or divorce, things of a romantic nature that have ended. You feel like you're on the bathroom floor and you're so sad. But years later, you're really okay about it. And like for a lot of people, they're even thankful that it happened because they wouldn't have the life they have today if they wouldn't have gone through that.
Exactly. That brought up a memory for me with this guy. He broke up with me right before I moved to LA.
How dare he?
Walked in. How dare he? It was one of the most traumatic breakups of my life. And I remember in that moment, I couldn't leave my bed. I lost like 15 pounds. Everybody was worried about me. He walked in and he was from South Texas. He's like, Drea, I don't want to be held accountable for your feelings anymore. And we're done. And I go, what? And I remember just begging and pleading and just thinking the pain was never going to end. But that breakup actually helped me move to LA because I just couldn't be in the city. And I handle things very dramatically. I've worked on it, but it's still pretty dramatic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, I can't be here. And so looking back, thank you so much. But in that time, and it's so hard to hear it because, people do say these things like, oh, it's going to be okay. One day you'll look back on it. And when you're in the thick of those feelings, you don't want to hear that. I'm like, Is he coming back or not? Right?
No, which is why I kind of like, there's a guest that you had on your podcast earlier-ish, which I had a conversation with her and she was talking about how at the moment, I don't want to hear it. I just want to get revenge. And she has a whole series on TikTok that is so popular, as you know, and it's just like imagining, revenge that you're not going to actually do. But you got to be ready to like heal. Like first you got to feel your feelings, be upset, I don't know, throw a few things, break a few things. And then you can start working through and getting better. But at the time it is so hard and it just sucks. And that's okay. Like you can't be all healed immediately. It takes time.
No, you cannot. I mean, I think one of the beautiful things about getting older is one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that it may be raining today, but the sun will come out. And I think when I was younger, the pain was it was so heavy. And I felt it was just never going to end. I was going to feel this way forever. I was going to love this person forever. And one of the beautiful gifts of getting older is that this too shall pass. It will pass. Even if you think, yes, this may land longer. Oh, you'll still yearn for this person, but it will pass. It will get easier. It will, transfer into something that could be really beautiful. And one of the things I wanted to talk with you about was your life after your divorce, right? And how things changed for you. And then also get into how you grew up in the church and all those things.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about because you are hitting on the two big endings in my life that have
Yeah.
probably impacted when we're talking about love. Those are the two big things that have really impacted me. I got divorced I left my marriage about 5 years ago, and it took a couple years to get finally divorced. But I started dating right away, which not
Did
everybody.
you?
Yeah, not everybody does that. Some people are more like, oh, I'm gonna wait, and heal, and then I'll get out and date. That's not me. I left my marriage and started dating it 5 minutes later.
Heather said, listen, I ain't got time. I'm jumping in, honey.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always been someone that heals through doing and community, and that's my
Yeah.
way of rationalizing the dumpster fire dating I got myself into for after
Heather.
nobody should be dating that quickly. Just stop. I just think, however, I do have compassion. Like now when I meet, because I've talked to hundreds of divorced women, through, the work that I've been doing. And I do try to give that advice. But the way I put it is if you can wait to date. You will be in better shape. However, I also recognize most women coming out of divorce, they are starved for attention. They're just desperate because usually when you're coming out of divorce, you are coming out of a bad place where you were just starved for love, affection, attention, validation, which means you should not be dating, but it's also why you want to date. So
Exactly. Exactly.
which is true for a lot of people going through heartbreak. But I know for me, I learned to date for the first time at the age of 42 because I had never,
Pause. You learned to date at the
yeah,
age of 42.
yeah, I'd never dated before because I always just the way it worked before, partially because of so backing up a bit. So I grew up evangelical quiverful, which is basically fancy words for fundamentalist Christian. And in fundamentalist Christianity, you don't date, you court. So you might it's like your parents might set you up with someone and you court and you meet them at your parents' house or at their house. You're always chaperoned. You're not supposed to even kiss until the day you get married. And I did have friends that did that. They're both divorced as of today. Big surprise. And so you just never learned to date. It was not something that was allowed in our house. And then when I got to my 20s and I loosened up a bit, and even though I wasn't even Christian anymore at that point, I had never gone through that process. And so I would just meet people in my friend group and we'd be in love and we're together. I never
Right.
dated, if that makes sense.
You
And
didn't
I don't
get to
know
know them.
right. And also dating apps were just getting started back then. And actually back then they were websites. I think I used eHarmony, which is the very worst one. And I do not recommend using that one at all whatsoever. But I would just get into relationships, and then they would fall apart in a ball of flames and I'd move on to the next one. And that's just how it works. So I never dated. I never had someone be like, hey, you want to go out for dinner on a date? That just never happened. We were just together.
Met, we're together. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We would be like friends to lovers, whatever that story is. That's just what it was over and over again until, break up in the ball of flames and then repeat.
Right.
So, yeah. So I just started learning how to date at the age of 42. I had a lot to learn on that front. I do feel
Did you learn by doing, or did you learn by research or talking to people? Did you just put yourself out there and go through the experiences and think, oh, I'm not going to do that again? Or, oh, that really works for me?
I would say both. One thing I would say to all divorced women out there, find your people, find other divorced women. Because, there are so many women out there that go it alone. They're just going on dates and they haven't been able to find a community. But as much as you can, there are a lot of us out there. Find other divorced women, whether through a Facebook support group or among your friends, whatever is available to you. Because I think it took both. It took me going out on dates and confronting my own issues. Because a lot of times you don't know you have issues in certain areas until it's staring you in the face, until you go on a really bad date. Or, and this is funny, I actually had the most issues when I met a really wonderful man. Because at that point, I was like, oh, I also have issues. Because it's so much easier to say, the dating pool's terrible. Everyone's terrible. And not think about, maybe I have things that I need to work on. And those are actually the most challenging relationships when I met something really wonderful. And I realized I was the red flag. And that's kind of how you learn, I think.
I think we don't talk enough about dating someone that likes us and that experience. If you are someone who is attracted to avoidance, your safety place is dysregulation. So someone showing up to you going, hey, Heather, I like you. You're like, oh, okay, hold on a second. And I do want to, dive into that a little bit, like what that's like and how to navigate that when someone likes you, because it's really confronting on if you like yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Well, and I really like, I will die on this hill. It's so much easier to date red flags than it is to be in a real relationship. I think it's so much harder because you know what? And I actually was talking to a friend about this the other day because she keeps getting herself into avoidant relationships where, he's cheating or he won't commit and it keeps happening over and over again. And I finally had, sometimes it's hard to be a friend to someone like that. And I finally was like, well, is it possible that you are actually afraid of commitment and you are actually emotionally unavailable? And that's why you keep picking these men instead of the really nice ones that want to take you out to dinner. And she was like, oh, maybe.
Right. Because it's really confronting to say to yourself, ooh, because I've been on that journey with
Yeah.
myself for over
Yes.
the last like 5, 6 years. And when I was approached by a really nice guy who there were no games, Heather. He was just like, I choose you. You're amazing. You deserve it. And let me show you from day one, not push and pull, not you got to struggle. He was just like, Dre, you're it. I'm going to marry you. And I was like, oh, okay. Wait, what? No, stop that. My brain wasn't used to someone just texting me back, making consistent plans, talking about the future, being consistent. If this man told me he was going to call me at 7, girl, 6:59, 7, hello, like instantly. So much
Yes.
safety. I wasn't used to it.
Well, and I think whenever you start getting into those situations is when you realize that like that was very confronting to me. And actually the person that I'm thinking of is who I'm with today, 3.5 years later. And at the beginning I was like, this is too easy. Like I'm used to the
What
shenanigans. I'm
is
used to the games, and he was very patient with me, I will say. I think if I would have met him any earlier than I did, I would not have been someone he would be interested in at all. Because I was playing those games. And it's just so easy to blame everybody else, but if you keep getting into toxic relationship after toxic relationship, I think it's really time to take a look at yourself because you are choosing these scenarios. It's not happening to you. You are choosing to
you are
perpetuate that cycle.
choosing? And I was having a hard time with that because I thought I was doing the right things for it not to be a red flag. I'm like, I asked all the right questions,
Yes.
I did all the things, and then in hindsight, there were little things that I maybe ignored and then later became a bigger deal. And I found myself, even with a lot of work that I've done, still bringing in these avoidant men because there was something in me that is truly scared to lean in or has been truly scared. I'm ready now, but to be vulnerable, to show up to someone who's like, Heather, I choose you, that's really scary, right?
Yeah. Well, I think too, we really have to take a look at ourselves because I don't know. I've been doing so much thinking about this over the past few years, because it is, you learn, it's like crash course after divorce and in dating and relationships. And I think sometimes women are really bad about, they almost approach it like being a teacher's pet or like an A+ student. Well, I asked these questions. I did this. I dressed like that. Like I hit all my checklists, but you're still choosing men who aren't choosing you. You are still choosing people that aren't right for you or that aren't compatible with you or they're cheaters or liars. You're still, like you're trying to manage the situation instead of actually making better choices. And it's kind of
Exactly.
like I know for me, I used to pick men that weren't good because that made it easier for me because I'm always the angel in that situation, right? I don't need to work on myself because they're clearly the villain. And if I think a lot of women do that, to be honest, so that they can get out of the idea that maybe they have some issues.
And when you are dating somebody that's fully available, it allows you the space to then focus on other things.
Yeah.
There was a Instagram video where they showed a bunch of women at brunch with healthy relationships and nobody was talking. They're like, this is,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I
everyone's
really
like,
think that
you know,
is very
because
quiet.
very quiet because it's not like, oh my God, babe, have you heard from him? What does this text mean? Like there
Right.
aren't these stories because it's like, no, he's at home or we're gonna meet later or I know where he is. And and also even, this is like an aside subject, but I do think sometimes around the friends that I'm bringing in, if I am doing something healthy, because not everybody wants to hear that all the time either.
No.
Because sometimes people want to like wallow in the complaining and he did this and he did that because you can bond over that as well, right?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, looking back, I think all the dumpster fire dating, that's just my term for everything I did after divorce for like the first 2 years. I really think there's something to the idea that we do that because it distracts you from the very difficult real life that you're dealing with. Moving into your own house, maybe you're a parent, you're working out co-parenting and like money and divorce and like all of these things that are really serious and difficult to deal with. And dating can be a distraction. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can do and sometimes that's why dating is so chaotic. You're a mess. So of course, it's going to be chaotic. But then
Obviously.
also, I would rather worry about so and so being ridiculous than about the very real life problems that I'm dealing with at the time. It's like a distraction and a way to check out.
Yeah, like confronting yourself. It's like, who wants to do that? So I
Nobody,
want to ask
nobody.
you, what are some of the biggest lessons that you learned after your divorce going into dating that you can tell women? Like you said, take a pause, right? Don't
Yeah.
jump into dating. But what are some
Yeah.
other messages that you can give to women who are about to start this process?
First of all, and I kind of mentioned this before, number one, find your community. You cannot do this alone.
Right.
Healing, I really feel very strongly about this. Healing doesn't happen alone. You need a team, you need a community, you need a village. Create a village. First and foremost, you need to do that. I think in terms of dating, I would say, I know one of my biggest lessons is don't waste your own time. You know who's wasting your time? You. Quit picking these men that are not doing anything for you, that are hurting you, that are, causing chaos in your life. And I think sometimes it's like we're signing up for the famine instead of the feast. Like we are like the whole idea of scarcity. We are acting like we don't have options. We're acting like we're not in charge of our own life. Guess what? You're not stuck with this person who is not great. You can say no, and either choose yourself, be alone, or go back out there and date again. Don't waste your own time. I think that's the biggest one. Or when someone shows you who they are, they're a liar, a cheater, get out of there. Why are you still there? That doesn't sound very great to me.
Right. And you brought up a question for me when you mentioned the word scarcity. Now, dating as a woman at a particular age, right? And this window of I'm getting older, my looks might be this, what do you say to that? Because I know that's also a real fear, right? If you're not
Yeah.
25, you're not even early 30s, you just got
Yeah.
divorced, you've had some kids, and now you might think the pool is small. And if a guy is interacting with you, it has to work. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very normal to have those kinds of insecurities because really
Mhm.
coming out of divorce, your self esteem probably could not be lower. Someone's paying a lot of money to not be with you anymore. So who's going to feel good about that? you
I
know?
didn't even think about it like that, but you're
Yeah, they're
so
paying a
right.
lot of money
Like
to not be with you. So you're not going to feel great. And that's okay. That's normal. I think it takes time to figure yourself out, to start feeling good about yourself again. I will say, I do think when you feel good, you look good. Like, I know this is like going
mm,
back to the slogans of the 80s, but like, go to the gym, take care of
it's
yourself. Those,
true.
yes. I mean, I'm in my mid 40s, so trust me, I feel y'all. I feel all the ladies out there that are worried about that. What I will also say, something I was shocked to find, because I will say when I came out of divorce, I did not feel or look my best because you're coming out of probably a major depressive phase of your life. Men didn't care. Like, I date men. None of them cared, to be honest. Like, I think we are harder on ourselves than anybody else is even aware of. I think we're harder on ourselves. We're harder on each other. I was surprised to find all the things that I was insecure about, nobody cared about. They
Mm.
really didn't. I did not have any trouble getting dates. And really, all of my girlfriends, it's the same for them. If you are a woman out there dating again after divorce, and if you date men, you're not going to have a hard time getting a date.
Right. And it is, on dating apps, they do say obviously it's like it's a little bit easier for women in terms of the options that you
Yeah.
have. But I think finding those quality options is sometimes a little difficult. And dating in an older pool is also different. People come with different baggage and different ideas and their wiring and all the things. And on the subject of wiring, I want to ask you, growing up in the fundamentalist church, are those is that still in your mind a little bit? Like those seeds, have you gotten rid of most of the things, even around, sex and intimacy? And when you do that, and because I know for me, like I grew up Baptist, right? And it wasn't like a 10 in my household, but I still have things that I hear my mom saying in my voice. My grandma used to say, keep your legs closed and your books open. She said that forever, all the time. You know what I
I've
mean?
heard
She's like,
that phrase before. It's
yes.
hilarious.
Keep your treasure. Keep your treasure. Don't give your treasure away. So even now in my dating, I'm like, I'm not giving you my treasure. You know what I mean? So some of
Yeah.
those things still stick with me. How
Yeah.
about for you?
Well, it was a very long road. I would say the entirety of my 20s, I think we talked about this a little bit before, but like for years, whenever I started becoming sexually active, I cried every single time. Every single
Did
time.
you?
Yeah, every single time. Because it just gets ingrained in you that sex is bad, and for a lot of the people I know that kind of came out of fundamentalism, they're going through the same thing. For some of them that you're supposed to wait till you get married, for some people even to kiss, but definitely sex waits till you're married. And for some of them, they would get married and suddenly they're sexually active, and asking someone to go from 0 to 100, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I know a lot of them struggled with being able to do that, being ready to do that. And I would say the whole thing about me crying all the time when I had sex, I was not like the only one. Like everyone
Right.
struggles in that front. Because how do you flip the switch between sex is bad, Oh, now go ahead.
Now
Like it
go
just
ahead.
doesn't,
Was there any education around sex in the church? Like,
don't do
did
it.
they?
That was the education. Don't do it.
So you're supposed to not kiss this person, you're
Right.
chaperoned, and
Right.
then you get together and you're supposed to like
Right.
just figure it out?
For a lot of people, they would have never have even been alone with this person, and you get married very young, and it's just like silly. Like now I would hope that practice is dying down, because I'm mid-40s, so I would hope that's maybe a relic and not so common anymore. But when I grew up, it
Right.
was not uncommon, that's for sure.
How young are we talking?
Well, 17 and start courting. Like nobody got married. Like there were no underage brides or anything like that,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
young,
yeah.
And also Texas, like I'm
Right.
in Chicago now. Most people don't get married till they're at least over 30, in
Yeah.
Chicago, but in the South, you get married quite a bit younger anyway. And
Yeah, I'm
then
from
add
Texas
religion on
too.
top of it and, minus a few years because of
Right.
that too.
Hurry up, make them babies.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's had a major effect. It doesn't really affect me so much now, but it just like makes you a very late bloomer. Because to be honest, I don't think it works. And for people that are gay or who, because also the expectations that you're straight. Guess what? That's not how life works. And so anyone who's
Right.
not straight, which is a lot of people,
A
they
lot
don't
of
even
people.
know they're not straight.
Right.
Because of what they're being taught at church. And so then you have a whole bunch of people that got married and then realized went far enough in, I dated the wrong kind of or I married the wrong kind of person. It just like in my mind, like broad stroke, it delays development on so many
Mm,
fronts. I think being able to get out there, have be sexually active, experience intimacy, dating, that's part of growing up. And
yes.
skipping that step can lead to less than ideal results. And maybe you'll end up dating for the first time when you're 42, like me.
Right, and figuring all these things out that, you now I don't know if you miss because your journey is your journey, but, I do think it's interesting, this idea around sex because I struggled with that too, growing up in Texas of, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that, and I'll be honest, I mean, even now, yes, it's changed. I mean, I've lived in LA almost 20 years, but there's still, like, little pieces of it in there that come up for me and girl, I'm a sensitive Sally. I'm crying around sex anyway, and I didn't grow up in a fundamentalist
Yes.
church. Because it's still such a, at least for me, it's still a big thing, and I do
Yeah.
appreciate that I was able to have that journey and figure out some things on my own. But like, I couldn't imagine the answer is just no until they're your husband, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Well, and everyone that I knew, and I actually still have mine. I should have like pulled it out. It's a promise. It's called a promise ring.
Ah,
So for a lot
yes,
of a lot of people when you hit puberty, so a lot of times they would do like at age 13, your parents might give you a ring that you wore. And there was a whole thing, Christian. I don't know if you heard about it. It was this movement called True Love Waits, and you like signed a pledge that you will wait
yes,
until
I
you're
did hear about this.
I signed pledge. I
Like,
don't know if you did, but yeah, that you're supposed to wait till you're married to have sex. And then the promise rings were you making that like commitment to, and it's like a wedding ring, and you wear it on your wedding ring finger that you're not going to have sex until you're married. And I remember having to talk with my mom, and she was like, and no French kissing either. Like she was like, not. It was like we were okay on kissing in our house, but nothing more than
right,
that, including French
like a pet.
kissing. Right. And, because she was like, you don't know where that'll go. And I was like, oh, I won't have a problem with that. Cause you're like 13, and I
Hey,
didn't even care. I was like, I can't even imagine wanting to date or being close to anybody like that. And she
right,
was
yeah,
like, well, you just wait. When she was right
and you'll
about
see.
that.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And so when did you get married and how long were you married?
I was married. Well, here's the thing. I got engaged to someone, found out he'd been cheating on me the whole time and called that off. So that slowed me down. I started dating someone 2 weeks after I broke up with the broken engagement guy. I
Go,
know.
girl. She said, listen, I
I
got
know.
time.
Dumpster fire dating all the way for me. And then he and I were together, I think, for 11 years, married 8, until I left during the pandemic. Yeah, I filed during the pandemic in 2020, and now 5 years later, I'm in my first healthy relationship ever.
Wow, what a
It's so sad.
journey.
I'm proud, but I know it's a little bit sad.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I mean, that's, how you grew up and then, you stay together. I'm sure there were moments where you thought like, let me really try to make this work. And then,
Yeah.
it just didn't. And so when you met your partner now, was that an easy journey? Like, I know we talked about like having someone like you. Were you all together right from then? Or did you like have
No,
some moments? Okay.
he was so patient with me. It took me 6 months to commit.
Heather
6
said,
months
listen,
to commit. He
I
was
know how
like
to run it.
6 months in. He was like, "So I'd like you to come to this event I have going. However, when I introduce you to my friends, do I call you my girlfriend, or are we still not doing that?"
So this is how you had the conversation. I'm always curious how people solidify and take things to the next level, especially when you're a little bit older, because it's like, do you ask? Because I want to be asked. I want to be
Yeah,
asked. I don't care if I'm 82. I want you to
yeah.
say in the senior home, will you be my girlfriend?
Well, you know what? You're right. I think that is like how my like upbringing is still impacting me, because I do. I still have a little bit of like I'm very like gender roles are ridiculous, but there are certain things that I just appreciate, like him, making the initiative, say, "I want you to be my girlfriend." I appreciate that, and him taking me on dates sometimes, I appreciate those things. However, I
Yeah.
will say, I was the first one to say, "I love you." I did wait like
Mm.
10 months to say it. And he was like, "I wasn't sure if that was a mistake or if you meant it. Did you mean that?"
To be fair, Heather, to be fair.
I mean,
He's
I
like,
made him wait, so this is very, in terms of like a lot of things. So it was a very reasonable question on his part, but it took a while. And, I moved slow because it really, that was the relationship where I realized I was the one with the red flags. I was the one that had things to
mm,
work on. And it really brought home to me, all those like dates that I complained about in the past. I was like, actually, I think that was me like distracting myself. And I was dating for attention and validation. I was like, my intentions weren't correct. And it's so easy to, as women, I think our main thing is like, oh, the men suck. It's not true. A lot of times, if it's like not going well, not going well, not going well, I know for me, my dating experiences got a lot better when I got healthy. Like I was actually the problem. I was signing up for those things.
right. And taking accountability, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of men get angry and say women don't take accountability, but being self-aware and looking at,
Yeah.
where you come from and what you're bringing to the relationship is so important. And also I want to ask, how important is it to you? And I'm sure it's important, but being with someone that's doing the work and can understand where you come from. I don't know what his background is, if he had any religious upbringing as well, but like bringing that to the table and having someone understand that, I imagine is really important to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate him so much for a lot of reasons. I have never met anyone who had the background I did, because I think it is fairly rare, to be quiverful and all those things.
Yeah.
Nobody's got as many siblings as me.
I,
But
I heard of the angry therapist. I was like, did I hear that right?
yeah, I got
Like,
21
that's
siblings.
wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, I know. Don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, how do you take care of 21? Like, I
Well, you
can't.
don't. That's the problem.
You don't. Right.
You
What number
don't.
are you?
This is the part that's kind of funny. So I was the eldest daughter for a long time, but then we adopted my 2 older sisters. So I was the oldest daughter until I was 9. And then like in the hierarchy, like we adopted my sister that's a little older than me. And then we adopted my second sister that's also older than me. So now I'm number 3 in line.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
it's a movable birth order in my
Yeah. Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways he's different, but he is also divorced. And something and that was actually the thing that I think was most helpful to me. Because we also broke up a couple times over the last 3.5 years. And I
Okay.
will say right now, they were both my fault. Both times that we broke up were my fault. Because I would get frustrated and break up with them, because I think at a certain point, like I don't know, just get tired of working, because it can be a lot of work to work on yourself. And it's like, I didn't want to deal with my shit anymore. I got exhausted of dealing with my shit, but it was holding me back from the life I wanted to live. And so we've worked it out, and now we're great. We haven't broken up in like 3 years at this point. So I think we're good at this point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what I appreciate about him is that he is always welcome, or always open to us working on things, to us having discussions and talking about things. Like, he's just as invested as I am. And I think for me, something that I did not have in my prior relationships is when you have the same argument over and over and over again, nothing changes. I don't want to do that. And I don't think anyone should do that. If you're not getting anywhere with these conversations, something is really wrong. Because I don't know anyone that wants to just like reinvent the wheel every couple months because somebody keeps doing the same thing over and over again, and it's a real problem in your relationship. For us, I think we've had one argument, maybe 2 or 3 times, but other than that, we talk about it, we're different, and then it's great. Which I've never had that before. Maybe that's normal and I just don't know it, but for me, I'd never had that.
Well, as someone who is still in the online dating world, because I don't really go out, finding other people, especially of the opposite sex, that are interested in doing the work and showing up to the difficult conversations, and not just going, oh my God, Drea's being dramatic, I'm out of here, I'm getting back on the app.
Right.
Like, that is a thing, because I say this probably every episode, but just the amount of options, right? And then finding someone that's like, Drea, I don't agree with you, but I love you, or I really want to see this through. I mean, that's like, it's hard. So to find someone, like, you guys can go through stuff, and it is, you got to go through those disagreements. You got to have those first fights to really build that intimacy, and the fact that you guys have been apart, come back together, been apart, come back together. I'm not saying that's the way for everyone, but it does deepen the connection when you come back together.
Yeah, I mean, it's been okay. It's worked out for us. Ordinarily, I would say if you broke up, trust your former self, stay broken up.
Right.
So I would say we're probably the exception rather than the rule in this front.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Well, for you, I actually have a question for you. Do you feel like, we're around the same age range. Do you feel like you struggle with commitment? Because I think I have, I'm always waiting for them to leave me. I'm always waiting for me to be too much and for them to break up with me.
Yes.
And sometimes I break up with them first, so I don't have to deal with
it. There's this subconscious at time energy of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Because if I give you all of me, first of all, it's just so scary to be vulnerable in any relationship, a friendship, especially a romantic relationship, right? And you show your cards, you put the guard down. It's scary. And so the times I have been presented with real commitment, then, like you said, I'm like, oh God, is it me? Because
this is real. If I sign up for this, it's actually going to happen. Do I actually want this?
Exactly. And I'm like, wait, is it just you? Oh God. Okay. Well, can I call you back? You know what I mean? So it's I've definitely struggled with, fully leaning in. I've realized, and then being so comfortable with the avoidance of not calling you back, and I haven't heard from them. And these stories are so consistent that when this other idea comes up, this other thing that I'm screaming from the mountaintops that I want, I am taken aback. And then I question it. I'm like, well, why? Why do you want me? And they're, Dre, you're great. How you know? You know what I mean? It's just like all of
it's scary. I mean, being in love is scary. Actually being in love is scary. Actually choosing a loving relationship. I actually think the relationships that have been easiest have been the ones that have been pretty casual, where there's no real investment. Those are easy. Yeah. Right? They're not going to hurt you. You're not going to hurt them. And I think there's value in those kinds of relationships. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think the hardest ones really are where you have two good people who actually love each other. I think, even though all the experience of it might be easier, I think it's more challenging to you as a human being, because there's nowhere to hide in that. If you're acting like a jerk, or if you have things that you need to work on, guess what? They're going to be very obvious in those situations.
And when you're really, truly vulnerable, all of your stuff comes up, and you are met with your wounds, looking at their wounds. And then you really got to figure out, how does this person need to feel safe in repair, and vice versa. And sometimes it's different. I dated somebody, he needed to take a moment And that felt like death to me.
Yeah.
And Heather, it would maybe be like 20 minutes. It's like, Drea, I'm gonna take 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh God, oh my God,
Meanwhile, you're on the bathroom floor dying while they take their walk
dying.
around the block.
We're just taking a walk. And he's like, Drea, I'm coming back. And I'm like, no, who is she? Who is she?
Your second family. Do you have a third family too? What's your real name?
What's your real name? Who are you? I knew I didn't know who you are. He's like, for 20 minutes? I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to calm down.
See, we let ourselves get. It's just like, I think I don't know, like, well, it's also like thinking about those groups. I don't know if you've heard the Are We Dating the Same Guy groups. I think there's a good place for that. Like there is a good use for that. But some of the women in those groups have gone so wild that I'm just like,
babe, I'm so glad you said that because I don't think it's productive to put
yeah,
a man in this chat that has done nothing just to
right.
say, do you know anything about him? I'm
Yeah,
like, is that the point of this? Or I
right.
saw one the other day. She said, he's being real nice and I don't trust it. Do you know anything? And I'm like, girl.
Every day you see a post like that, he's being so nice, but I don't trust it. It's like, what?
Exactly. I mean, with technology, social media, how accessible we all are these days. I mean, it could really be damaging. I mean, just to have your picture on there, period. I had a guy friend that was on there who was a really nice guy. And I'm like, why is he on here? This is
Yeah,
crazy. This social media and all these things have allowed people to really just get out of pocket. And that I am seeing a lot of that. And so this goes back to, the taking accountability and how you're showing up in a relationship when you're coming with all of your stuff and all of your things and really
yeah.
owning that, and I don't think a lot of people do that these days.
Yeah, I think it's hard to do. It's hard to do that. It's hard to be humbling yourself, and to bring those things up. Like, hey, this is something I really need to work on. I think sometimes it really does go back to those things we learned in kindergarten. You need to be able to apologize. You need to be able to tell the truth. When you do something wrong, you need to try to make it right. If you learn something, do better next time. There's such
Right.
basic things that for some reason we are so bad at
We're
as an
so
adult.
bad at. One thing that's coming up for me as you say that, and I'm thinking about like a situation I'm in right now. I obviously have this podcast. I talk a lot
Yeah.
about communication. I talk a lot about rupture and repair and when things go wrong, like being honest. And then I find sometimes when I'm confronted with a situation, I actually back away and I'm
Okay.
like, I need to think about this versus just saying, hey, this is really making me feel uncomfortable and I want to be vulnerable right now. And there's all this like I'm scared, especially if something's new, you don't want
Yeah.
to show all your cards, right? And so it's like that journey of just being really vulnerable and applying the work when it shows up is not always easy. Like I can do all the work on my own, write all the notes
Right.
down, take all the courses, but you put another human being in my face and it's time to apply. I don't
Yeah.
always show up well. I don't know
Well,
what your experience has been like.
yeah, well, I think it kind of goes back to what we were saying at the very beginning about, while I don't think I would recommend people go out there and date immediately after divorce, don't wait too
Right.
long either. Because there's this
Right.
idea too, if I can read all the books and I can study and heal and go to therapy, and then I'm like you graduate and you're suddenly ready to date. That doesn't work either because you have to learn how to do this in the real world. So I would say
Right.
maybe just wait long enough so that you're not a super duper mess, but don't wait so long that you like have become a hermit, or like have like grown a third arm or something because you've been in your house for so long by yourself. Like give yourself a little bit of time, but the real learning is when you can start applying it in life with other people, to your point.
Right. Because we're not supposed to be alone, right?
Right.
So ideally, because I do have a couple girlfriends that are in this stage of being alone and now they've been alone for like too long. And so
Yes. Then
they
they're,
feel
yeah.
very committed to what they want and what they like. And I was even watching, I hate to bring this up, but I was watching Love Island UK.
Oh, I love it.
And I love Love Island UK. Oh my God. Shout out to Love Island UK. The second season, so good. And the couples are in their bubble and they're
Yeah.
loving life. They don't have their phones. And then
Yep.
they get out into the real world. And there was a couple on there, Ashley and Billy, and they had this really intense disagreement about food because we're so regimented in like what we do. He's super healthy. He wants to eat
Okay.
meat,
He's got a system.
broccoli, and rice. And he doesn't want any sweets in the house. And Ashley's like, well, that ain't gonna work for me. So
Right.
what do we do here? She wants like a sweets cabinet. And he's like, oh,
Right.
absolutely not, because I'll eat it. And it's like relationships are compromise. They are
Yeah.
compromise, right? And so you got
Yeah.
to be able to, you're going to be with another person. It's not always about you.
Yeah, and a lot of times I ask people, do you feel like you can collaborate with this person? You shouldn't
Mm,
compromise who you are, the things that are top most important to you, but can you collaborate with them? And I'm actually at that point too. I have now lived on my own for 5 years. At first it was so hard, but now like I love it. I love having my own space. I love having my own time. I love being in charge of everything I do. However, moving towards if my partner and I move in together, or something that's more integrated, how am I going to feel about that? What is that going to look like? And I kind of feel like if we wait too long, it's going to be hard. It's going to be
well,
harder,
yeah.
because you get used to the way you're living, you get set in your ways, and then it kind of becomes a question of, A, do you really need to change? Because maybe we're just following the relationship escalator of do this, then this, then this, when that's not
Right.
maybe the right thing for you. But I do think it's a good question. Like, can you collaborate with this person? Can they collaborate with you? Because I will say the person I'm with now is the first time, like, I would say, well, this is really important to me. He'd be like, well, I don't want to do that, but how about this? Like, we can like figure it out. And I think that's a really important skill when you're moving forward in a relationship. Can you guys collaborate and figure out a path that works for everyone? Where there's not one person who's always giving something up that's important to them, because that's not a healthy situation of self.
Right. And I think that is something I've had to watch in the past for sure of being malleable to their lives and all the things that make Drea, just kind of like
Yeah.
letting it go back to the wayside. I think I over indexed a couple times, Heather, and new relationships. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to yell. I'm so sorry. They're like, okay. I mean,
Right.
Drea, you don't got to do it. You
Like,
know what I mean?
absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Standing up for myself, me and my inner
Right.
child were like, no.
And then later you're like, well, that was kind of stupid, I guess.
Right. I was like, I didn't mean to be at a 10. I'm so sorry. I'm just learning. I'm learning my boundaries, and just even having boundaries in a relationship and owning what works for you and what doesn't. Right. So I
Yeah.
don't know what that journey was like for you from your marriage to your new relationship, kind of figuring out like, I don't like this for me. And this is just what works for me. And some things you can compromise on, but some things you just can't. Like, for instance, I was seeing this guy and he lives in another country because, girl, I get myself into all these long distance relationships.
Like, you have a lot of space there. A
I
lot
have
of
a lot of
personal space.
space there, which I feel, like there's something there I got to look at too, because it's like, well, I don't, why are they not in the same city? Whatever, another episode. But he was not great with responding, right? And my
Yeah.
friend kept telling me, you need to be chill, da 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 da. And Heather, I don't want to be chill. I would like a partner that
Yeah.
responds to me within a timely manner. And the
Right.
thing is, if it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me. And if he
Yeah.
can't get back to me, then he's not my guy.
Yeah,
Right?
I used to like really struggle with that, and someone reframed it for me in a way that was helpful.
Okay,
They're
please tell
like,
me.
"Well, is that a turn on or a turn off?" Like, frame it like that. And because then it puts it into, is this something you are attracted to or something that makes you not attracted? Because a lot of times it becomes like you're trying to control the other person, and that like flips it back on you. Like, what are you attracted to? And like, because I'm the same way. I
Mm,
don't want someone that takes 3 days to write me back. Like, get out of
no.
here immediately. Like, and to be honest, I don't know if that works for anyone, but we can pretend like we're the problem. Like, I think that's a good
You need
reframe.
72 hours to text
No,
me
no,
back?
no, no, absolutely not. That's a lie.
No.
Nobody needs that much time. That's just
No.
someone that's not ready to be in a relationship or doesn't want to be in a
Period.
relationship with me. But either way, it's not a turn on. So
No.
keep walking.
Keep walking. How do
Yeah.
you fare with your boundaries when you got into these new relationships? Were you able to hold firm with them, or did you struggle a bit? Did you kind of like maybe go cross some of your boundaries to kind of make things work? What was that process like for you?
I got better at it over time because, at the beginning, I really was like a newborn baby. I didn't know anything about dating or
Right.
really, I'd been married and I'd been in relationships, but they weren't great. Like, I think I wasn't showing up the way that maybe I would like to think I show up now. I think you have to start from square one, and it does take time. Like, what are the things that matter to you? And guess what? You really can say no. And if you saying no means that relationship will end, it's okay. It's really okay. They're not the only person in the universe for you to date. Like, there's a million people out there. There really is. The whole idea that the dating pool is small is, according, if you look at Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, there's a lot of options out there. So I don't know about that.
There are a lot of options. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just took me time to first I need to figure out what really mattered to me because you can't have 100,000 boundaries. And then on top of it, boundaries are how you're going to react. They're not ways to control the other person. They're all things that you have power over. Because I think sometimes people talk about
Mm,
boundaries in ways like they're like, well, you don't respect my boundaries, when really they're just trying to control the other person.
right.
Boundaries are like, if you do this, this is not something I can participate in, but you're not trying to control that other person, which is a lot different from don't do that. That's not a
Yeah.
boundary. That's you making a command.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think people do really get like their lines crossed on what that means, or using boundaries, yeah, to just to control the other person, which is not
Right.
okay. But it's like if there's behavior that you're being shown that you don't like and you've seen it a couple times, because my thing is I will give you the opportunity, right? So
Yeah.
when I present things to men, I am very conscious now of tone, timing, and delivery. Okay. So maybe you had a hard day at work. I will hold it begrudgingly, but I'll hold it, and I
Hmm.
want to make sure that you can hear me. I'm not yelling. I'm not, being defensive, but I always present information in the way of, listen, you do whatever works for you. I'm just letting you know for me to feel safe here and to be the best Drea I can be for you. These are the things that work for me. This is just
Yeah.
information. So however you feel about me, you do what you want with this information. If it does nothing for you, no problem. Then that gives me the opportunity to then operate from there. But I'm never like,
Yeah.
you should have, you didn't, and da 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 da. I really pay attention to that language, especially with men, because they turn off anyway. It's like beep. They don't hear you anyway.
Well, I think it's a good thing to ask yourself, are you giving away your power or are you hanging on to it? Don't put your decisions about whether to stay in a relationship, whether how you're going to show up in a relationship on the other person, because you can't control that. It really
Right.
is all up to you. And if something really isn't working for you, and then you should move on, and I
Yeah.
think you have to be honest with yourself about that. Um, yeah. Yes. And two, I think if you're having to script yourself too much with someone, though,
Absolutely. Yeah, for
then
sure.
that's probably not a good situation either. Because I know for me,
Yeah.
I would like come up with these really detailed scripts and, try to perfect the timing. And then like later on, I was like, you know what? I was never going to do it right. Like that was just like, that's too much. It's too hard. Like if you're in a relationship where they don't care what you think, they don't care how it's landing on you. Because that's the other thing. If you have that talk with them and they don't seem to care how it's making you feel,
We're out.
then that
Yeah,
right there is your signal that it's over. This is not the right person for you,
exactly.
because they literally don't care how you feel.
Yeah, and these conversations are happening early on to kind of see what I'm working with, right?
Yeah.
Because I do agree with you. At the end of the day, I'm going to be who I'm going to be. But in a lot of this presentation of the work is because I used to operate at a 10 and I had to bring myself down. All emotion, just all my 7-year old just ran the show. She said, I got this. And so now I've been like, hey, girl, you go over there. I'm going to stay in my adult self. I need to have a conversation, right? Because I can easily get my amygdala hijacked and I don't know what is going on. I'm just all crying. I hear it in my voice and I'm talking like this and no one's able to listen to each other. So I,
Yeah.
for myself, have to walk that journey in a way where I don't have to go back. And listen, it's not perfect. Sometimes the
Yeah.
7-year old just does what she's going to do. And then I go, ooh, okay, I'm sorry about that. I got to work on that. Let me reframe
Yeah.
that because I have to know what's mine, what's his, and then what's ours. And sometimes Drea's just digging into her abandonment from her dad, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And really being aware of those things is half the battle. And sometimes you have to go on your own little walk around the block and be like, I'll be back.
And I love that you said that because Heather, I wouldn't go on a walk around the block. I would just, you want to stay and I got to fix and I got to fix. But sometimes a pause can do so much.
Yeah,
It can
you
do
just have to
so
come
much.
back. You just have to. I did. There was one person I was with for a long time, and he would get so upset and be like, "I can't talk about this right now." And then it'd be like 2 weeks later, and be like, "Are we talking about this, or is that just like an excuse to like not deal with
2
this?"
weeks.
Yeah, right. I'm not with that person anymore for quite obvious reasons.
I mean, what the heck? I'm
Yeah.
talking like, okay, an hour, maybe a day, but 2 weeks?
Yeah,
No.
no. That's like using therapy speak for to be manipulative and bad behavior. So don't do that.
Don't do that. Exactly. So, what are some of the green flags that women can look for when dating, especially right after divorce? You're coming with all your baggage, you're going on a date with someone. What are some green flags that you've looked for and that other women can look for?
I would say well, the biggest thing I say is consistency over time. A lot of people can put a very lovable, attractive mask on, because there are a lot of people that they want to get into relationships. And so they show you their best self. Most people can keep that up for about 3 months.
3
Maybe on the
months. Yeah.
outside 6 months. So really, what I do tell women, don't make any commitments before 3 months at all. Like, don't commit to them before 3 months,
Ooh, hot
because
take. Okay.
you need more time. You need more time. That doesn't mean you have to, there's lots of people that only want to date one person at a time. That's okay. But do not declare your commitment to that person before 3 months. So 3 to 6 months is the hot zone. And really look for consistency over time. I think about dating relationships like a mixing board with a set of sliders, love, time, consistency, values, getting to know each other. They all need to come up at about the same rate. So if someone's love bombing you or they're like, oh, I want to be with you, and that's all the way at a 10, but you've only known them for 2 weeks on the time slider, that's out of whack. Like, it's all got to come up at the same amount of time. And the number one thing is consistency over time. Are they showing up the way you want them to show up? Are you showing up the way that you should be showing up over time, consistently? Because if you're looking for something that is real, and I know we get impatient. We're like, I want to know in 2 weeks. And sometimes you get so hopped up on the adrenaline and the dopamine, you want to follow that high and like be kind of reckless. And I get that. But if you're looking for a long lasting relationship, the ones that I have seen, at least, that have done the best has been moving a little bit slower, the slow burn. I have never, the lightning in a bottle relationships that I've been involved in, that I've seen all the women that I've spoken to involved in, not one of them lasted past like a month.
Really?
Yes, because you just get so excited and you really skip all the things like, are we compatible? And also, those are two people that are chasing a high and not necessarily
Right.
building a life together or getting to know each other. It depends on what you want. Plenty of people just want to be out there dating, chasing the high, in which case, go
Yeah.
nuts.
I
But if
mean,
you're
there's
looking for a
some people that
relationship,
do that.
it's not the way to go.
It's not the way to go. So consistency over time. Because it's like, yeah, it takes a while to know who you're dating. I mean, it takes a long time to know who you're actually dating. Years,
Yeah.
I think.
Yes. Yeah.
And the
Like, I think
layers
I'm
can
just
still
getting
come
there
off.
like now. Like, yeah, it takes years to get to know who that person really is. You need life events to show up. I kind of think, like someone I listened to on another podcast, she said something like, you really know if someone's for you if like you have a parent or someone close to you die and they like go to the funeral with you. And I laughed
Honestly,
a little bit. I was like, that's not wrong.
that's so true. I had a family member pass, and the guy that I was seeing at the time did not go to the funeral with me. And I remember feeling so obviously abandoned, but I thought, I can't get over this because there was no reason for him not to go. And he
Right.
did not show up for me at all. And it was so telling where I thought, okay, yeah, it's time to move on after this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just
Yeah.
think we're so, I don't know. I just think sometimes as humans, we can get so desperate for love that we start making really poor decisions, like committing to people that aren't great, or you just get tired of dating. Like, I've seen that time and time again. Women are just tired of dating and they're like, this guy's fine.
There are so many this guy is fines. Why? I mean, and then you just settle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
not, and it's not settling for, like, so many people are chasing the spark. Like I said earlier, it's not about that. It's like they're settling for men who cheat on them.
Mm.
They're settling for the way that they're treated. They're settling for the way that they're showing up. They're settling for the connection with this other person. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's very interesting the way that women waste their own time, settle. And sometimes you just get tired of dating. And I get it. Trust me, I get it. Sometimes you're sick of being on apps and you're just like, I just want to coast for a little bit. And that's
And
a
it's like, I
choice.
don't want to hear any more happy Tuesdays. How's your weekend?
Good morning,
What do you,
beautiful.
girl? I had this guy text me for 2 weeks. Good morning, beautiful. Because I really try to lean in sometimes to the masculine and the feminine. I'm going to let him lead and ask me out. After 2 weeks, I go, what do you want from me? Like, what is happening
Are we
right now?
going out? What do you want?
Are we, You know what I mean? Like, where's like,
Yeah.
let's go on a date. Like, I don't want to sit here and talk about my date. I don't
Right.
really care about how your date is because I don't know you.
Yeah,
You
we're
know,
not pen pals.
we're
Well, and
not
that's the
pen
other thing
pals.
too. Dating apps, I feel like are full of pen pals, and I don't know if this happened to
Full.
you, but there would be tons of men that would, to your point, never ask me out, but they would text me all the time. And at a certain point, I was like, "Are you married? Is that the problem here? You just want like attention?"
You
Turns
want
out
me
a
to
lot of
tell
them
you
were
that you're
married.
handsome. You want me to tell you that I want to go out with you. And there
Right.
are a lot of people that are married because they got married a while ago. They skipped the
Right.
dating app phase. There's a lot of marriages on there, openly on there as marriage and
Right.
married people that are like, oh, we're exploring, we're going on our own
Right.
adventures because there are so many options and people are
Yeah.
overstimulated. They're
Yeah.
online, they're on social media. They're like, oh, all these people. And then they're looking at their partners going, I really think I want to get out there. I just want to chat with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Well, and two, like, I really, dating apps are a double edged sword because, like, I know I wouldn't have met anyone without apps because, like you, I love being at home as well. I would
Girl,
never meet anyone.
good luck getting me out of my house.
Yeah. Well, it's like you start to see people as disposable because you're right. It's an unending supply of options. And so it's like, well, this isn't working out. And it's real easy to throw people out. And then we kind of wonder, well, then why aren't you getting in a relationship? Because you're just like throwing everybody out. You're not actually getting to know anyone and you're working on
Right.
a superficial level.
And yeah, and it's you become I hate to say this, but you become numb in a way. And so a lot of people have to take a pause on the dating
Yeah.
apps because you're not even looking at people as people anymore.
Right.
It's just a numbers game. You're getting your hit, you have a match, you start a conversation, and then you're focused on like 10 different conversations and you can't really give any energy to anything real because you're
Right.
like, I remember one time I was talking to these people and I was like, saying something to someone and I'm like, didn't I tell that to you? And he's like, no, that wasn't me. And I'm like, who did I tell that to? You know what I mean? I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
need to like
You're like,
reel
oh
it
no,
in.
I'm that guy that I complain about now.
I know. I was like, okay, it was like that excitement of just getting on the apps. And I was like, okay, I need to like chill out a little bit and kind of hone this in.
Well,
Right.
this happened more than once. I went on a date or matched with someone. They'd be like, we went on a date before.
Definitely had rematches. Definitely had rematches. And you know what's so funny, Heather? I will throw shade and been like, I saw this guy on this app like 5 years ago. Then I'm like, oh, but I guess he's seeing me as well. So
Like, I can't be that judgy, I guess,
I
even though
know,
it's
but
fun.
I love that throughout this episode, you really have talked about, the mistakes that women can make in dating and holding ourselves accountable, especially the best nugget of the day is don't waste your own time.
Yeah. I think that's the
Yeah.
number one mistake women make. They waste their own time and they are actively pretending like they're not the problem. It's like, quit. Well, you chose this guy. He's shown you who he is, and you're still there. That's you wasting your own time. Move on.
And not a lot of women want to hear that. They're like, excuse me, Heather, he
Yeah.
did X, Y, and Z. But it's like, whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. This is what you are choosing to do. You are showing up, and people give you information. They tell you who they are, and then we can all just complicate things.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I started dating in a more healthy way, and I was having a lot of issues. Like I said, I think it's more challenging to date healthy people than it is red flag people. And I was talking to a friend and I said, I realized something. I think I'm emotionally unavailable and I think I'm commitment phobic. And she was like, that's a turn. I was like, yeah, but I think that's what it is.
Right. And we have to take an honest look at ourselves. And I think that's essentially the message of today's episode is that taking accountability, not
Yeah.
wasting your own time, and taking an honest look at yourself and what your issues are.
Yeah. And it takes
Yeah.
time to address those things.
Yes, it really does. Heather, thank you so much for being here. You have been amazing. Is there any nugget before we let you go that you want to leave the viewers with? I always ask this at the end. I mean, you've said amazing stuff, but if there's anything else.
I think, and this is a little bit, this is kind of connected to what we talked about, but it's a little bit bigger picture, I guess I would say. No matter what I like to tell people, happiness is an inside job. if you want to be happy in your life and you want to create a new beginning, that's something that really starts with you. And, it takes a lot of work to address it. It takes a lot of time, but it is something, no matter what's happened to your life, you are more than the worst thing that's ever happened to you or the worst thing you've ever done. And as long as we're on this earth, we have a chance to create a happy, good, meaningful life.
Yes, I love that. Oh, and one more question. What does happily never after mean to you?
Oh, to me, it's really about how sometimes you feel like your life is over, things are done, like your life is ruined. And those are the moments where you learn the most and you can go on to create an even better second chapter.
Amen. Yes. Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, truly.
Thank you so much for having me. I love all of the episodes and the work that you're doing.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, this is the place for the hot mess expresses and the black sheeps of love. Before you go, make sure you hit like, follow, and comment down below. And until next time, I'm Drea Renee, and this is Hey Babe, Can We Talk?